and welcome to the first ever episode of Bonnet Porn. This is Sarah and
Megan.
Welcome to our podcast about all things Jane Austen
related.
Well, most Jane Austen
period pieces.
Here's how it is. Every time Megan and I would want to watch any sort of period drama, one of my brothers would walk through and say, "Why are you watching more Bonnet shows?" Which is henceforth what they've come to be known. But if you're interested in Bonnet porn, which is really the reason women watch these kind of things, like, I mean, most of them are based on novels, and to be true to the text, there's not a whole lot of sex in them, but the sex is implied.
But this is so much better than stupid 50 Shades of crap.
Yes, this is lady porn,
This
whereas this is a longing look that is 6 VHS tapes long.
Yes.
And we hang on to that stuff.
Makes you a little warm.
The romance porn.
Yes.
That makes your bloomers a little drafty. So we have seen every one of these at least twice, unless they come out with new versions, and some of them are good.
Well, even then, I think I have 5 Jane Eyres.
Yes,
So,
Jane's Eyre.
Jane's Eyre?
Yes, we have many
Jane
different.
Eyre
We'll talk about each one in turn. We'll be watching each one of them and comparing them, ultimately picking our favorite, which is the definitive copy that you should see. And that's the only word you need on it, no backsies. So today we start at the very, very beginning with the 90s versions of BBC Masterpiece. In true form, we're starting with Jane Austen. This is a Jane Austen.
Yes.
And Persuasion. I have not actually read the Persuasion book.
Admiral Croft.
Yes. Okay, well, we'll get to it. But have you actually read the text of Persuasion?
I have read the text of all the Jane Austens.
Okay.
Including Emma.
Yeah. Let me say right up front, I have
want
only
that month back.
Yeah, I have only actually read 2 Jane Austens.
I lie. I did not read Northanger Abbey.
Oh, well, nobody did.
I know.
I
didn't really
but
want to watch it.
Maybe we will watch it. I don't know how, but I don't know the story even because I never watched it and I wasn't exposed to it like from day one. But Pride and Prejudice is like everybody kind of knows what's going on. Jane Eyre, you kind of know the story. If you were a lit major, you definitely know at least the story. But Persuasion was like the second most popular, I think, third. I would say Persuasion was less known than Pride and Prejudice. Fourth, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility. And then, yeah, it's a Monty Python sketch. Our 4 famous novels. Okay, so Pride and Prejudice, I would say, is the most famous. Sense and Sensibility, I would say, is next.
But are you saying that just because Emma Thompson is awesome and won the screenplay? Oscar?
I would say because most people know it because of that reason.
Okay.
Because Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, both like follow the something and something pattern.
Yeah.
And then Emma, I would say, is next.
Yes, but Emma I wouldn't say is most popular. I'd say is most well known.
Emma?
Yes.
I knew Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice before I knew Emma.
No, as in third in not popularity, but well-knownness.
That's the same thing.
No, it's not.
Oh,
Emma's
whether you like
popular.
it or whether you've heard of it.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
everybody has heard of Emma.
And everyone has heard of Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
I think, all right, I'll tie them for second then. So I would say everyone knows about Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
Sense and Sensibility, Emma, and then people will say Persuasion, and they go, what is that? Yes. So it's one of the lesser known, just based on the fact that there are at least 2 Pride and Prejudices, 3 Pride and Prejudices that I can think of. And then there are at least 2 Sense and Sensibilities. There's at least 2 Emmas that I can think of, and there are 2 Persuasions. There may be more. And I think there's another Emma in there. But
we are now going to do which is the most persuasive.
Of
the Persuasion.
I guess this is the kind of gold you can expect.
I am so funny.
Also, apologies, I will be coughing and clearing my throat because I am getting over 3 weeks of bronchitis. So what a way to start off a whole new series. This Persuasion is the 1995 BBC version of Persuasion starring
Ciarán Hinds
and Amanda Root as...
All you need to know is Ciarán Hinds.
Ciarán Hinds has a special place in your podcasters' hearts because he is not only Admiral blah blah blah, Captain blah blah blah.
He's Captain Wentworth.
Captain Wentworth, in Persuasion, but
Admiral's
also
the one who goes for the waters for his.
Oh yeah, he takes to the
or
waters, yes, doesn't he? Yes, for
Mm-hmm.
his wobbly leg or whatever it is he has. Ciarán Hinds is not only Captain Wentworth. He will also feature in our favorite version of Jane Eyre
as Mr. Rochester.
Wait for it, because that's my personal favorite. Jane Eyre, I think. I prefer, I will say right now, Bronte to Austen. Oh, she's wrinkling her face. She doesn't agree.
My favorite all-time story is Jane Eyre.
Okay, well, mine too. So we're on board there.
However, Bronte, I know nothing else is going on in their lives. It's,
They didn't have cable yet, Meg.
1900s. But if you're going to read the book, Charlotte Bronte is so boring.
There are bits you can skip.
Yes. I think I skipped 3 or 4 chapters and she was still talking about the same fly on the wall.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah.
If you're gonna watch
it's far less like, Shakespearean comedy where there's all sorts of like frippery and ribbons and hats, but it's middle class problems versus lower class problems.
Yeah.
Or at least upper class problems versus middle class problems.
That, and really, what are we even caring about? Most people nowadays are gonna watch the movie, they're not gonna read the book.
True. But I dig an ugly governess more than I dig like
the Ponzi.
I'm
so beautiful, but I can't get a husband.
The least attractive sister in a gaggle of sisters is
Uh-huh.
like less interesting to me. I am less invested.
Yep.
Speaking as someone who has a number of sisters. The basic plot of Persuasion.
Persuasion is the naval novel of Jane Austen, where it takes place. Where does it take place? It takes place in Bath, but it also takes place in
A bit in London.
And
a bit on one of the
waters.
I thought
No,
there
they're
was a
no, 'cause they're
Dover
going
somewhere.
to the sea.
Didn't they go to
Yes.
Dover or something?
Going...
Was it Lyme? They always go to Lyme. It's Lyme. They always go to Lyme. Okay, so
Okay, but anyway, the point is that the heroine of the story, Anne Elliot, was in love with Frederick.
handsome Frederick Wentworth.
Yes, but of course Wentworth was poor. So, without having a mother, because mothers always die in these kind of things, her, what would you call her? Like godmother?
Or it's her guardian.
Guardian, yes. Advised her,
Who is slightly richer and wears fancy hats.
Persuaded her to tell Frederick that she would not marry him because he was not good enough for her.
Right.
So then he goes off to war, big naval battle, becomes a captain, and horribly, horribly rich. This was 5 years later, 10 years later. So now, Anne, still not married, is an old...
She's still on the shelf.
She's still on the shelf.
In real time, she's probably like 24.
I think they actually say that she's like 32.
What? Is she actually 30?
I think she's 30, and therefore she's never going to get married. Because
Okay,
she's
we'll
an
get
old
back
maid.
to this, but I didn't think she was 30. I think... Oh, wait. He said it was like 8 years ago, didn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe she was actually 30.
She was 30.
Yeah, back in the day, that's like
30-ish.
Diane Lane, tale of the 45-year-old, incredibly beautiful and keeping it tight woman who like manages to marry someone even though she's obviously too haggard to even deserve love.
Yeah.
Which at that time was like, 28, 29. So he's come back.
He's come back and is still in love with him, and we don't really know Captain Wentworth's feelings about it. He's a little bit frosty toward Anne. That's kind of where it opens, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay.
And here we go. Okay, let's talk about Anne as a heroine.
Okay.
Now, she's not one of my favorites because she's still a Jane Austen heroine. So there's still a fair amount of what my husband would refer to as a Wendy whiner.
Oh, yes. They still have to be passive and...
It's not even necessarily passive because, I mean, if you compare it to, like, Elizabeth Bennet, she wasn't terribly passive.
No, she has a little bit more fire, but...
Yeah, she wasn't an impossibly
Anne
good
Elliot
Cinderella, so...
Is very passive. She gets... Her sister rolls all over her. Her father
Sure.
is a foppish whatever.
But she's still very modern in her thinking. And you can
Yeah.
tell because she has, like, very many of these romantic novel tropes. And we love them. Evil stepsisters.
Yeah.
So she has terrible stepsisters that spend money. They sit around eating bonbons. They pretend they're sick all the time.
But she's the practical one.
But she's the practical one.
And the nice one.
And she's
And
not
the
evil or
level-headed
spiteful. And she doesn't bully anybody.
Yes, and she's the smart one, so obviously she has to be an old maid because
Right.
men don't want that kind of thing.
So, because women can either be backbitey and superficial or they can be extremely maternal and loving.
Yes.
And she seems to be that one. She's like Elizabeth Bennet minus like...
The fire.
Yes, minus any amount of backbone.
Yes.
So it turns out well for her, but it's like how the that one Big Bang Theory episode where Amy was like, "Oh, I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark," and she was like, "It's fine, except that if Indiana Jones hadn't been in it, it would have ended up exactly the same."
Yeah.
And he was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, yeah. If they still would have opened the ark, they still would have all melted, and everything he did, did not impact the plot in any way. Every time he went somewhere and did something, he never actually prevented anyone from doing something. So he actually wasn't the hero of the story at all." And it like blows Sheldon's mind. And she's sort of like that. She doesn't actually do anything. She's sort of just kind of like a leaf carried along, told to do things by the people around her.
Yes, but that's the fact that her turning point just happens to be 5 minutes before the end of the movie. Because
when she actually does something for herself.
Does something for herself.
Right.
Yes. So that is her arc.
Yes.
Is 5 minutes before.
Does nothing, does nothing, does nothing.
Yeah.
Or does what she's told.
Does what she's told.
And then does something for herself, and that's how she gets her own happy ending.
Yes. Maybe that's the moral.
But yeah, her stepsisters are terrible. Her actual sisters.
Well,
no, they're evil stepsisters. They're the other archetypes of women that
Yes.
show why we should like this one and not like the other women.
Yeah.
Like the one who's constantly
who thinks she's
sickly.
Awesome, and the older one thinks that she's the best since whatever.
What did sliced bread happen?
I was gonna say sliced bread, but
she's the best since the tonic that carries away your freckles.
Okay. I was gonna go with the Mercedes rules. What? Oh crap! And then Married to the Mob. She thinks her shit don't stink or whatever.
Yes. But yeah, they're all very pie-faced and sallow and unfortunately banged, and
like fringed.
They are fringed. Yes, they have unfortunate hair.
It's like unfortunately banged,
badly coiffed.
Yeah.
They have one is they look sort of like, well, British and sickly.
Yeah.
But they
with
like
the red nose.
Yes, they eat chocolates, they lie around, they talk about how terribly put upon they are. Mm-hmm. They talk about how sickly they are.
How life is unfair.
How life is very unfair to them. Mm-hmm. Middle class white women whining, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, Anne is trying to fix it, trying to make everybody happy.
Just get along.
Yeah.
And
avoid fights.
The only thing she wanted for herself was pretty much taken away from her. So she's like, well, if I'm going to be a spinster, I'm going to lean into it.
Mm-hmm. But even then, she still apologizes. I don't blame you for taking my love away, kind of thing.
Right.
It's like, and I don't blame myself. I was like, well, somebody needs to get blamed because they should have been together.
And unlike Pride and Prejudice, she doesn't really have that, like, familiar to talk to, someone who's on her level. Like Elizabeth Bennet has Jane and kind of her dad, where they're like kind of on the same page, which is probably why I like Pride and Prejudice a little bit.
It's also why she also has some fire, because she has the conflict between her sisters. And
you can see there's not just a good character and everybody else is terrible. There's good, and then there's also good, but not as like nice and well-meaning, and then there's also good, but like, her dad is a good guy, but he fell in love with Mrs. Bennet, who is clearly insane, and is just like, I love her, and I will, this is my life. I made my bed, and I love her, and I know she's nuts, and I'm here for that because I have 5 beautiful daughters, and
I would just like it if my daughters weren't insane.
No, but you can tell that they're good based on like their character, but it's not like that character is good and the rest are basically terrible. Mm-hmm. Whereas in this, it's pretty much she and his family. All of his family members are pretty chill. Mm-hmm. And basically the people that she comes from are all terrible, and all of their friends are terrible. And when I can only imagine, we didn't see like the flashback of when they first met when they were 18. I can only imagine it was like when people used to hang out at our incredibly full and loud house because they were only children because they hated their own families. And I think that
they're always off by a brook or something.
Yeah, they were like completely alone, not wanting to go home, and they were like, hey, come home with us, we're pretty cool people. And despite the fact that they seem to be upper class people, they make friends in places that are not necessarily the the richest part of town and even stand up for themselves and tell their families, I'm going to go visit this guy who is in the not great part of town, or I'm going to go visit this school friend of mine who has fallen on hard times. They're like, you can't associate with that person. And she's like, no, I'm going to go because they're my friend.
The thing is, though, that Jane Austen has this weird thing with, not nobility, but the upper class. Because, simultaneously, she paints them in a bad light on the fact that, oh, well, they're so selfish and whatever, and they're all dicks to their children and whatever. But the end result is always that we want the person to marry the rich guy. Notice that?
Well, that was the ideal at the time. Yes, you could have, people who get married for love, but they're going to get married for love and they're going to be rich.
Yes.
They're not going to get married for love and be poor, because that's not a happy ending.
No.
The closest you get is is it Mansfield Park, where she marries a priest?
Yes.
But they still have a vicarage.
Yeah.
They have a place to live.
Yeah.
Even if they don't need millions of dollars in wealth, they still have a nice place to live. They won't starve, because if you just get love and you're starving, that would not have sold as a happy ending.
No, but you still have at the beginning, the rich people not being put in the best of light.
Yes.
It's like Pride and Prejudice. He was, prejudiced and kind of a dick. It's like in this, her family, dickish, but now they're going to be poor. And, but she can't marry the poor person because, he has no connections and blah, 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 blah. But then it's okay at the end because he has money. In
Persuasion?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. In society, it's either you need to have money, or you need to have family connections, or you need to have a good name.
But I think it's a contradictory, what exactly was Jane Austen, what was she trying to say? Because obviously on one hand, she's like, okay, well, the rich upper class, they're kind of dicks, but we need them in the end? It would be nice to have the money?
I don't think it was that we need them in the end. I think it was a little bit of, it needs to be a happy ending that poor people can look up to.
Yeah, it's the whole fantasy.
Is, you're going to fall in love with someone you love and they're rich. Also, she has to sell it to publishers.
Yeah, but Jane Austen wasn't rich.
She was middle class.
She's middle class, yeah.
I mean, she wasn't landed gentry, I don't think, but...
No, but, I don't know.
She was doing okay, but she still sold books. So,
yeah.
They were romance novels. So, yeah, they had to be. But you would want to marry somebody with family connections who was rich. Everybody who was rich at the time was landed gentry, which means that they did have all of these estates that passed through the family. So they were going to be related to a big family, unless they were, if they went from rich to poor, it's because somebody gambled away their entire inheritance.
Yeah. But I think, especially in Persuasion, it kind of makes Anne's decision at the end a little less powerful.
It's sort of the reverse, though. Because in Pride and Prejudice, they just inherited their money. They did jack and shit to get it. Whereas he was poor and made himself rich. And it's okay that he has money now because he made himself rich by winning a war for Britain. So he was doing his duty as a soldier and happened to become rich. So if you need a reason to like him, you can sell different people at different class levels. You can say he's a war hero, and he earned his own money, and now he's rich.
Well, yeah, but I thought, at the end...
Oh, and he's a good person. So, yeah, there's no way he's a bad guy.
Well, no, but it makes it... in Anne's eyes, it's supposed to be the fact that, she doesn't care what anybody says anymore because she's not going to marry the cousin or whatever. Is she's going to follow her heart and go with Wentworth. But the fact that now, yes, he is rich and she can show him off and whatever is just a perk. It's a little bit demeaning.
I don't think so. I think it's romanticized. I think it's a sensibility thing, but I don't think so because she doesn't care about the money.
No, but that's...
And I think that the only reason he cared about the money was because it would make her marry him. Not because of who she was, but because of her family, and they wouldn't accept him otherwise. She never cared about the money, because they say later that she said that because she goes and visits poor people and she goes and visits rich people, and she says she doesn't care, and she said she would much rather go to, because they said they were going to the theater or going to some party or something, and she's like, no, I wanted to go to the theater, and
her family connections,
right, and she's like, some people see it as beneath them, but I am no card player, and he goes, no, and you never were, which means I like people based on who they are as people. I don't give a shit if they're rich or they're poor. I like them as people.
Yeah, but the only thing that changed with Wentworth was the fact that now he has money.
Well, she's older too.
Okay, so now she's like, okay, now I'm gonna be an old maid unless I'm...
But she didn't change. She loved him before, and she loves him now, and she doesn't love him now because he has money. He just happens to. If I were being generous to the story, that's what I would say. Because before, she didn't care about the money, and she's 19, and someone tells you, no, don't marry him. Plenty other fish in the sea.
Yeah.
And then you're 28, and you're like, where all them fish at?
I mean, I know the point is the fact that she was supposed to be naive and whatever when she was 19. But I think I would buy it more if, when he comes back, she's a little bit stronger and going toward it rather than the, oh, I'll just stay here quietly because I don't think he likes me anymore.
We wouldn't have a show if she were just like, dude, I know you're rich now, but what up? Because we have to get through the entire thing, because he comes back and he is quite cold to her, and she's like, yes. Oh, I get it. Ciarán Hinds, face like a mountain. There's no way, there's not even a crack in your face that says maybe you want to pick up where you left off, and he is being like so cold that she's like, oh, yep, ruined my shit, and you're rich now, and you're rubbing it in, fine, like, I deserve it, I broke your heart, it's terrible. So which that's like where we have to start.
More because
right, you're like, all right, I'm gonna take my licks because I know this is my fault, I know I told you no, and you're rich now, and you're showing up looking hot.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of though is when she's talking to the one dude with the poetry. We'll get to that.
Oh, that's such a good part.
Yeah, that's
I want to put a clip in because it's so good.
Yeah,
I have to figure out how to do it. You'll have to do the clips on your phone. Clips and pictures. When I want a picture, you'll have to take screenshots, and you'll have to take like audio clips of all the audio. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, the only other thing I wanted to say. Did you have something else?
No. I was trying to get back to is she a heroine? But
as a heroine. I mean, she is obviously the heroine of the story.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, the foils that she has to stand up to. The stepsisters and her, like, guardians and faux parental figures. Because her real parental figure is her dad, who is, like, a nothing.
It comes down to peer pressure.
He's like a wet napkin. But her actual friends and actual parental figures are Wentworth's sister and her husband, the admiral.
And her in-laws, her sister's husband's family, they like her.
Yeah, and they're pretty poor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the one that she was gonna marry, right?
Yeah, he proposed to her as well.
And she was like, no, and so he married her sister? Yeah, okay, that was another sister. The one who's sickly all the time.
Because he wasn't bookish enough for...
Again, somebody else told her to say no, didn't she? Didn't Lady Russell tell her to tell her no?
Yeah.
Tell him no?
Yeah.
So she just left and right was being like, no, don't marry anybody.
Yeah, dude, Lady Russell's like a total cockblock.
Well, was she a widow, like, then?
I have no idea.
Or when did her husband die? This is what I'm unclear on. Like, did her husband
died,
die when she was 19
rich.
and she just wanted her to be a spinster, like, for selfish reasons?
I don't know when her mother died either.
Yeah, see, that's weird. And because she said when she was 19, Lady Russell told her not to get married, which means her mother must already have been dead
before she was 19.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's really weird how she has this like weird manipulative mother figure and then like a father who just doesn't care and is clueless and just spends money. But like Admiral and Mrs. Croft are like super cool because Mrs. Croft is fucking Fiona Shaw.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with
wearing
Fiona Shaw.
bitchin' turbans. And again, that's like her archetype for marriage because they're married and Fiona Shaw has this whole speech about how the only time she was ever unhappy was when she was away from
him.
her husband.
Yeah, that's so sweet. That was like actual love right
It was
there.
so good because it's Fiona Shaw, so she's really selling it. But she's just talking about as long as we're together, I didn't really feel anything terrible. But there was like storms and she had to stay at Lyme. Always Lyme. Lyme seems to be a sad place.
Yeah.
Bad things happen at Lyme. Someone Like, really,
There's some
somebody hurt Jane Austen at Lyme, guys.
Wet rocks.
We need an inquest, because I don't know what happened to her at Lyme. But she's just talking about how she had to stay there and how it was terrible.
She sprained her ankle.
And yeah, and it was awful.
Because there's no, like, safety
There
railings.
are weird cliffs,
There's
guys.
no
We're going to take a
railings.
picture of the other Persuasion where you can really see them. There are no railings anywhere, guys. And you could
Imagine
die.
Pokemon Go or whatever.
Yeah, people would be
Every-
into the surf like lemmings.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that bit where she's talking about her husband and how much she loves him, but that's like Anne's actual idealized version of a marriage is that there's nothing in there about money or wealth. It's just you want to be together with the person that you like.
Yes.
And you get that with like the chemistry between the two characters, like Fiona Shaw and like this craggy dude who's kind of grouchy, but like a grouchy dad. So, and he's like BFFs with Anne, and she like runs across the art exhibit to go see them because she really likes them. They're sort of like her like absentee parents,
Yes.
and they're like his family. So it was like she could tell that she likes all of them as people, and she doesn't really care about wealth so much. She's used to it, and she was raised with it. But like Lady Russell will be okay with it that she marries him if he's rich, but I don't think he cares much about the wealth either.
No.
He like probably got rich and was like, yeah, I'm gonna stick it to her and shove it in her face. And he comes back, he's like, yeah, but I kind of still love her.
See, I'm thinking it's more of a replacement. He's trying to fill the hole of Anne with whatever money and
like killing
getting
Napoleon.
away. Yeah.
Sticking it to the Frenchies.
Yeah. It's like he just needed very badly to be doing something with his life.
Aww.
Because otherwise he was just going to stay at home and mope. Which is actually sweet.
And she says, as a woman, that's what you get to do.
Yeah,
You
that's
get to
what you
stay
have
at
to
home and
do.
mope when you have a broken heart because that's all you're allowed to do.
Yes.
So yeah, I
You
think
can't
there are
vent your frustrations by killing Napoleon.
There's a definite like, sensibility of you love someone as a human, and if they're rich or if they're poor, you don't give a shit. So
it's tragic. I'm telling you.
Okay, so that's what we're setting up to do. Now she has to go live in Bath. The horror.
Oh, we didn't really explain that. So hopefully you're watching this at home or
yes,
something.
please watch along. So Anne has just been dispatched to go live in Bath in a slightly smaller mansion.
No, her family has gone to Bath.
Her family has gone to Bath, but she must away to
Upper Cross.
Upper Cross. To
Silence.
see
crickets.
to see the sickly sister who has married Charles.
Yes.
Charles.
It is Charles.
Who has married Charles, who also proposed to Anne, but who was refused on Lady Russell's say-so.
Yeah, Lady Russell needs to just...
She is a cock blocker, man.
She is, I'm telling you.
And if a woman at the time only got one cock and she batted away two cocks, she got a lot to answer for, Lady Russell.
Got a lot to answer for.
Okay. Let's talk about Ciarán Hinds.
Dun, dun, dun.
Certainly. Miss Miscommunication, Captain Wentworth.
It is most pleasant to see you again so soon, Captain.
He's a beast.
Rower.
It is taken too long. I believe, Captain, that you are acquainted with my elder sister Anne.
We have met once.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I wish young Charles a very speedy recovery, Mrs. Musgrove.
It's like a simultaneous heat wave and ice shower at the same time.
Very decent shot. I did not let him grab the best position. And I see I have intruded on your breakfast. Forgive me. Good day.
Good day.
Ice.
I'm not going to say it was the first time I ovulated, but
But there's definitely...
he's got something.
He has the ability to make your entire body, like, raise your temperature by,
It's
like,
a little bit. It's you know what?
10
Yes.
degrees.
A
It's
little
like-
bit. I mean, I do have an electric blanket on, but I thought it was the Ciarán Hinds effect.
Yep. And it's like, and then, the next second, all he has to say is, yes, we met once. And then it's like
Oh, we met once.
a dagger of ice to
I
the
know.
heart.
The man is a tree. He seriously walks in as broad as he is back and forth, and he's just like this big, solid pylon
Just, like, long and,
of sideburns.
and
He looks like Easter Island
sailor
statue.
pants
He's just
and
all face and
He's
chin.
very square.
But he has a
and-
beautiful voice as well.
Oh, yes, he does.
The voice is just very, like...
He's
sort
also, like, from Ireland or something, isn't he?
I thought he was...
Or Welsh.
I thought he was Welsh. Maybe he is Irish.
Sorry, I apologize.
Sorry
if
about
I-
everyone in the UK. We
confusing
know that the
Welsh
British
with-
Isles are a bunch of a mix, a melting pot, if you will,
Yes,
of cultures and
and,
languages
they have
that
their
are
own separate
disparate and have been
everything.
colonized, and some hate the crown and some
Basically, all
are-
I gotta say, though, is that all of the British Isles, you have some sexy ass
They're
men.
hot, they're real tight, and we love all of them individually
Together.
and together.
However we
We're
can
sad
have them.
about Brexit. But I'm not sure where Ciarán Hinds is from. He's either Irish or Welsh, or he's none.
This is what Google's for.
Yeah, we're gonna Google it. Anyway,
But,
so-
yeah, Ciarán Hinds.
yeah, he really kind of makes Captain Wentworth for me. His sideburns are so on point, and this is what I love about the BBC adaptations. Nobody in this is like classically hot.
there's
Like
no
they're
Brad
attractive.
Pitt, whatever.
They're pretty. There's no Brad Pittage happening in the BBC versions. And I used to watch the BBC versions of these shows on like PBS.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like the Emma on PBS. Mr. Knightley was like bald.
It was.
And I still like you get it from the characters that they love each other. They don't have to be like super drop dead hot. Like they're most cases upper middle class, wearing period costumes, like impeccably dressed. Why make them pretty on top of it? Like these it was like 1706 or something was the year. Was it 1706 or 1806?
I think it's 18.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. It was 1806. And nobody is looking like Brad Pitt then.
Belfast, Northern Ireland.
Okay, Ciarán Hinds, Irish. We knew it the whole time. I'm gonna edit this. So anyway,
We just wanted to give a shout out to
big shout out
Wales.
to Ireland and also Wales. Yeah, somebody else would be Welsh. Everybody's Welsh.
I was gonna say something, but no.
I'm not sure. Well, Michael Sheen is Welsh.
Is he?
Yes, I know he's Welsh.
He's also hot.
So, but I don't think he's in any of the ones we're talking about. Anyway, so Ciarán Hinds is a gorgeous hunk of Irish man, and he just really makes it almost because he is so like big and broad, and she is so teeny and mousy that it kind of works.
Yeah.
Like in a weird like later he like holds her hand and he's got this massive like I don't even like almost like a furry glove cosplay sized
It's
hand
like
and
a
she's got this
protective
teeny tiny princess
comfort
hand.
kind of thing.
I
Like,
know.
He is the comfort for her life.
Yeah, he is
It's all a
like he is
metaphor.
all of the family she never had.
Yes.
And she just like crawls up into like his little nook of a tree and you kind of get it and it's not necessarily like in the print.
His daughter's name is Aoife.
Oh, I like the name Aoife. That's cute.
Of course, it's spelled with a Z, but
How do you spell Aoife with a...
it's not.
It's A-O-I-F-E, isn't it? Okay, anyway. So Z and Aoife. But anyway,
He's a close friend of Liam Neeson.
I think
I
I
wanna
did know
get in
that.
on that.
Another enormous Irishman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Irish sandwich, please.
Taken 2, Electric Boogaloo. Maybe we could get in on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Ciarán Hinds.
Ciarán Hinds.
But yeah, see, he comes back, and this is where like any other movie would have this is actually just half an hour in. If she'd have just been like, "Hey, by the way, you're back. I still love you," it would have been over half an hour in.
Yeah, but that's the point, is the fact that he walks in and he's like this freaking mountain that you can't say anything. She didn't say anything at all.
And
she
they're
just had to
constantly
grab
surrounded
a
by other
chair.
people. Yeah, she had to grab a chair because she had
He's
the
like,
fucking vapors.
He has the presents.
Yeah, he did. He brought all of the
Yes,
presents,
he
and that
did.
jacket is not doing him no harm.
Nope. Not
And
in
he's
those pants.
trailed.
No
Yeah,
one
those
looks
big
good in
pleated
1800
jodhpurs for hunting.
Sailor.
And he's trailed by 2 giggling girls who know what a hot piece he is.
Oh, yeah.
And she's just standing there like, what? I carried a watermelon. And she's just sitting there like snapping a little wicker chair in half
Carried a
because she's just dropped like 5 eggs. So,
Yep.
yeah. And she's wearing like, she's a good actress. They're not giving her a whole lot to do, but she's definitely emoting more than some certain Jane's Eyre I could mention.
Yeah, she's having like a heart attack.
But
right
she
now.
goes between like fear, heart attack, gonna cry, gonna barf, and they're all different emotions. They're not
They're
the
all
same emotion.
eye thing.
She does widen her eyes quite a
Yeah.
bit.
And she has
But-
big eyes in the first place, so it's like
Yeah, but you can still tell that
can
like
feel-
she is
you can
affected
feel what
by
she's
it.
feeling.
And this is the start of the part where he's going to be extremely rude and like yeah.
teasy.
This is more than a tease. I get that, you know, if
This part right here was a little bit rude.
if she were over it,
But the
right? If she were over the
flirting with
brokenhearted,
Henrietta or Louisa or whatever, that's just a little
I don't
bit.
think he was flirting to make her jealous then. I think it was a bonus, but I think he was like, all right, I'm out of town. It's George's sisters. I'm going to flirt with them a little bit. Sure, it'll be a good time and I'll go home. And then one like was super in love with him and he was like, nope, all right, this is getting real. So,
But later on, he says that in his letter. Oh, his letter is so nice.
we'll have to read it.
But anyway, half agony, half hope.
It's so good.
But he says that she's the only reason that he came to Bath. So, at this point right now, is it going through his head that he still wants her right now? Or is it okay, well, she already rejected me, so yeah, maybe I should be looking for a wife.
They're not in Bath.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they're not in Bath right now.
It's
so
later when he comes to Bath.
yeah, and that's when he says that he came to Bath for her.
Yeah, he sees her now and he's like, oh, you're here, whatever, cool, I'm over it. And then like after he sees her again and like exchanges 2 words, he's like, nope, I'm still in love with her.
Okay, so at this point right now, you're thinking, oh no, she rejected me. If I'm gonna have, flirt with people or whatever, then it's to get a wife, not Anne.
Yeah.
See, it's not just a, high school, oh, I'm over it, but I'm not really over it. I'm just gonna pretend like I'm over it because then maybe I can get it back.
It kind of, there wasn't that much thought going into it, I think. I think he's like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to see her, fine, whatever. And these girls are flirting with me. Okay, well, she's clearly not into me, so I'm not going to embarrass myself by being extra nice to her or like trying to talk to her too much because then she'll just tell me she still doesn't love me. So it's like a distance thing.
Okay, so then he goes the opposite direction and
just is rude, like, I don't know what to say to her, so I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Until something terrible happens and then he has to talk to her and he knows she's capable and he's like, oh my god, this happened, like we can't have this weirdness because you and I are the only people who can actually take care of themselves. So you and I are the capable ones. We're gonna have to like dig in here and forget our drama. And she was like, yup, and she did. And he's like, shit, this is all the same reasons that I fell in love with you and I'm gonna have to be in love with you again. So it's pretty tight when you think about it.
Yeah.
There always has to be that crisis where you're like, oh,
Yeah.
all of these bullshit reasons we're mad at each other. Oh, we have to shelve that because actually somebody just fell off a fucking cliff at Lyme because there are no guardrails in
Safety
Lyme.
guardrails.
Okay, you say he's given her shade. I don't know. I think you're conflating it because he was giving Jane Eyre shade when he played Mr. Rochester. I don't think this particular character is giving her shade.
Okay, and my argument is that at the beginning of the conversation, when he was talking about he wanted to, whatever he said about wanting to be doing something in the year 6, whatever, he did not look at her. He looked at Admiral Croft. So that was okay, maybe it was, a deep feeling that, yes, he was bringing up memories and whatever, and so that wasn't giving her shade. But when Admiral Croft said when a man does not have a wife, that clicked in, and that was a little bit shady. When he's, yes, well, I didn't have a wife. It's when age 6.
Well, yes, I didn't have a
year
wife
6.
in
And then
year
look
6.
straight at her. I mean, that was shade.
Yeah, and everybody could have caught that. So I don't know. I think that might have been like over direction or an acting choice that was a miss because he could have looked at the table, he could have looked sad, He could have looked toward the door.
But I'm saying what the acting choice did was create shade.
Yes. So you guys, you watch the clip. You weigh in. I'll make a poll. Is this shade?
Is this shade
or is
not?
this just glossing over their past history in a way that will probably escape notice by these twits that are around the table?
Well, obviously, yes. But at the beginning of the conversation, how he was saying with the memories, he was not going into it as to cause shade. But when Admiral Croft brought up the fact that he didn't have a wife, I think that was a little bit shady. His response.
It was his response. He didn't volunteer the fact that he didn't have a wife.
He didn't.
He was like, I really wanted to be at sea because I didn't have a wife or anything. No, he didn't lean into it.
At the beginning of the conversation, it was fine. It was just a memory that he was trying to get through. Okay, fine. And it's like, but then when, Admiral Croft should have kept his freaking mouth shut. But
they don't know. I mean, even they didn't know. Like,
no.
Lady Croft was like, oh, did you know Frederick? So this is all new to her. Like, she finds out that they're super in love, but
at that point, I think he did want to
kind of rub it in.
Rub it in
a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, hey, who's famous now?
Yeah.
Check out my collar.
You know, it's like, I've been, with the same memory over and over again for the past 8 years. He doesn't know if she has.
Right. Like, I've been dwelling on this.
Like,
I'm still hurt by it.
Maybe remember the fact that in the age...
there could be a compromise. 6? Maybe the look wasn't, yeah, you remember that? You remember our shared history? It was more of a, I didn't have a wife then. And, like, looked at her like, how you feel about that? Maybe it was like trying to pick up on this like total stone face exterior, like, oh yeah, I didn't have a wife then. And then he looked at her like, how about hooking up again? How about that?
Well, with that though, I wouldn't, because of the fact that it was he repeated the year. He was like, yes, in the year 6, I didn't have a wife.
Well, again, depending on how you play that, I didn't have a wife in the year 6. I could have a wife in the year 16 if you're like...
Well, yeah, but I think it's more of the fact that he has had that memory and he's not sure where she stands.
Right.
So by saying that, he's like, it's a reminder to her that, do you remember what happened in the year 6?
I feel like a look would be either or. Well, of course she remembers. I didn't think
he doesn't know because she has no facial expression.
I know, but I'm questioning his facial expression. Because he's looking at her. She has none. She's giving him nothing.
I know. I'm saying that look, just the plain look at her by saying those words, that
this is the core of all romances, though. They're saying things, and you're not sure exactly what the other person is feeling. So you're just like, oh yeah, we're missing each other. Like, are you saying you love me then? Oh no, he's still mad about it. She's like, oh shit, he's still mad about it. And he's like, oh, she's giving me nothing. She doesn't regret that at all.
Yeah, but
and then it's not until later where they're like, no, seriously, you can have this now.
I think the point of the dialogue, though, was an intentional jibe. Jibe?
Yes.
Rib? Whatever.
Yes. We can go to the text to clear it up. I do not have a paper copy of the text.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell.
It doesn't say Captain Wentworth looks at Anne
with obvious shade.
Yes.
No, but it's hard to tell what the inflection is. I think the language is supposed to have a duality to it, where it could be like, oh, he's being mean on purpose, or he's like questioning whether we can pick this back up, and she's like, what is that supposed to mean?
All I know is that the first time that I saw this, when he looked at her, I had a little twinge in the heart. So
of regret.
No, if I was Anne Elliot, I'd be like,
if I had no wife in the year 6. Fuck. And she's just like, I let those beautiful sideburns go out of my life.
Yes, there was empathy there for Anne, because I was like picturing Captain Wentworth saying that to me, and I'd be like,
because she's such a sweet little forest animal, and it's not like she rejected him because she's shallow or needed more money. It was because she was given bad guidance. Mm-hmm. She had bad friends.
Yeah, I mean, she feels like shit anyway.
But he doesn't know she feels like shit because she's trying to take it on the chin.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
It's a very, like, Eleanor Dashby situation where she's trying to be like, yep, that's great. I'm super happy for him.
But
everything's great. Let me just clean up the kitchen. No, you guys go sit down and I'll totally do all the dishes. And,
but
like, she's trying to handle it.
That would be frustrating for Captain Wentworth.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to be like
give the shade.
She doesn't want to be like super effusive at a table of people and be like, "Yes, I remember that. Will you marry me now?"
Well, yes, I understand that, but she's still not giving him anything.
No,
even a look.
Because I don't think they even talk one-on-one to each other until after Louisa falls off a thing. I don't think they even have a conversation until Louisa falls off something and ends the weird awkwardness between them. I think we'll get
There's
back.
something about a dance or something that maybe, I don't know. We're talking about Ferret Face?
It is now the portion where we get to the love rivals in the series.
The triangle.
The love well, each one of them has love rivals now.
The quadrilateral
First, he shows up all dreamy and handsome and rich.
love quadrangle?
Parallelogram.
Parallelogram.
Love parallelogram. So, yeah, his brothers, sisters, hers, how is
What are we
it related to
talking
her?
about?
Captain Wentworth.
Captain Wentworth's not related to Ferret Face.
No, but it's her
Is it her cousin?
sister's husband's sisters. So, are those cousins by marriage? Her cousins-in-law.
You talking about Henrietta and Louisa?
Yes, Henrietta and Louisa, the Musgroves.
Okay, then yes, they are
Her in-laws.
in-laws,
Yeah.
brother and sister-in-law. What? No,
Her sisters.
her sisters in-laws.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her sisters in-laws, the Musgroves,
Yes.
both have the hot pants for Captain Wentworth and why, shouldn't they?
Well, yes, but Henrietta is already engaged to.
Is it engaged, or I thought
Yes.
they are engaged?
They're promised.
They're promised, yes.
So-
Always the phrase before
yeah.
engaged.
So Henry and Henrietta hate her. Come on,
That's-
Austen.
Yeah. She was like, you know what? I've done all the other characters. These don't matter.
This
So she's like, ha ha ha.
is so funny. I'm clever.
Right. So yes, both have designs on Captain Wentworth, and they are, alas, so much younger than Anne, who is basically the crypt keeper.
Oh, of course.
Because at the tender age of 28, I mean, she's only got 2 years left, really,
Oh, she's got her cobwebs up in.
at death's door.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she's following them around, moping with a big old mope face.
She mopes a lot.
She is moping, but she's like, oh, I rejected him. There's 2 younger models.
You know
Fine.
what
He
she
can have the pick of
needs?
either one.
Instead of the waters and bath, she needs a frickin' Xanax.
Well, Xanax and a vibrator.
Yeah.
Because maybe after, she clears out the cobweb, she could be like, look.
I don't know. There were scary things, and this isn't really Victorian. This is.
Oh, no, they weren't invented
I'll
yet.
get it. Hold on. This is. Oh, what period is this? Hold on. I got this. It's the Prince of Wales. It is Regency?
It's the Regency.
I got it.
Yep. Well done.
The Regency era.
Yes.
Can you imagine what a vibrator would be like? I think it'd be scary.
I think it's manual all the way.
Or it'd be like wood, it'd get splinters.
Or a loaf of bread.
Or a loaf of bread.
In some cases, it was actually a loaf of
a
bread.
loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that was
That's
a little bit earlier. I think that was like Restoration era loaf of bread.
Think of the yeast infection.
Yeast infection! Ah! Good one.
Not good. Not good at all.
Not really good, but fun. Anyway, it's like day old bread.
I mean, that's exactly what it's like anyway, right?
Right, sure. I mean, I don't know what you... Never mind.
No, it's
Anyway,
not.
it's not. It's not, guys. It's really not.
It's not.
Sex education, guys. Look into
Don't
it.
use bread.
Don't use bread. No sugar in the vajay.
No sugar in no.
Anyway, so the love rivals. He's looking at like 18-year-old, 19-year-old ladies, and she's like, "Well, I guess this is happening."
Bob. Captain Wentworth was looking at 16 and 18-year-old ladies.
Right.
The newcomer on the scene, Ferret Face Elliot.
Ferret Face.
Ferret Face Elliot.
I love him so much. This is the first ever appearance in my life of Ferret Face. This is the very first time I saw this actor, henceforth known as Ferret Face.
His features are very close together.
I don't know why he's gotten the moniker Ferret Face. He's not an unattractive
No,
gentleman,
he's
but
not.
he has the face of the love rival in one of these period dramas.
I think
he is
it's-
always in these period dramas, and he is never the hero, guys.
No, he's not. He's always the sketchy.
He is the Brutus. He is
well, because Brutus plays him.
Brutus
in the other
plays
one.
him in the other Persuasion. He is always he's always the bridesmaid, never the
I
bride.
think it's because their eyes are closer together, and they always make the upturned nose face.
Yes, he's
So
got
it's like
very
his nose is twitchy.
He's got really squinty features. He's a blonde. He looks he
And he's
looks
twitchy.
like the the youngest nephew that you keep indoors because he has some kind of skin condition.
Aw, that's sad.
He kind of is, though. He's kind of like the whelp of the litter look.
Yeah, but...
And I'm sure he's a lovely man.
Yeah.
His name is actually Samuel West. I looked it up.
It's a good
He
name.
looks like a Samuel West.
He's
And I'll
good
tell
name.
you right now, I recently saw him on Mr. Selfridge. And he looks so much better with the benefit of years. He looks,
Wasn't he also in The Crown?
yeah, for like one episode.
No.
Because I looked at him, I was like, Ferret Face! Everything henceforth that I have seen him in,
I mean,
I have been
got
like, that is Ferret Face.
Pause to his face. I mean,
He's got a chubby face in this. Duder must be 20. I mean, he's got a
he's
real...
cute there.
He's not unattractive.
No,
But
it's-
since he's always cast in that role,
well, that and when he talks, I mean, that's he gets that slimy.
it's kind of unctuous. Yeah, he's got a real, like, trying to ingratiate himself manner about it. So he's doing his job real well. Like, he's
good
found his
actor.
lane and he's sticking in it.
Yeah.
But, you know...
it is the twitchy nose. that
And
is
he's got
very
like a
Ferret.
puffier face because he's young.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's older, he's got like cute whiskers. And I'm like, oh my God, Ferret Face is a good looking guy. And it's so weird. They do that. Well, it's Edwardian, so he has got whiskers.
Yes, what are weasels?
But okay, well, listen. He's a better looking weasel. He's better looking as weasel face than Ferret Face. He's like a possum now.
He's a possum.
He's a good looking
no,
possum.
dude, no. You don't go from ferret to possum
Well,
in a good
I like
way.
possums.
Yeah, but they're not the most attractive of
I think
marsupials,
they're
are they?
cute. Fine, he's gone from a possum to a wombat.
Okay.
Wombat's cute as shit.
Wombats are cute.
All right, so he's
Save
gone
Australia,
wombat.
by the way.
Yes, guys, save Australia. Anyway, so that's Ferret Face, and he's not going to be a good guy. Spoiler, I guess.
Yes.
But he's got like gold Fauntleroy curls, and you want to hate him, and that's why he's really good for the role he's in right now.
He's Anne Elliot's cousin.
And Elliot's cousin. So yeah, his name is also Mr. Elliot, which
Some way.
gross.
Yeah.
Spread the genes apart, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so Ferret Face is on the scene, going to be making the sweet love to
The
Anne.
sweet love.
to his cousin. Gross.
He's not making the sweet love. He's making the sweet love glances.
Well, yeah, he's making he's trying to make the sweet advances because, spoiler, he ain't got no cash.
He's getting the ingredients for the cake.
Yeah. He is broke and only has the good Elliot name and is trying to marry her for her money. She doesn't have very much, but she will probably get money.
No, because he'll get the baronetcy or whatever.
Oh, yeah, because he
wants
has...
the title.
Yeah, he wants the title in the land because...
Baronet. That's what it is.
Baronet,
He's
because
the baronet.
her father is the baronet, but he has no male heirs. And she is the oldest girl, so if she marries him, he will inherit.
Yes, correct.
And so that is what he is after.
As long as her father doesn't have any more kids
Right,
that are male.
right. So he
has a two-pronged agenda.
He is on a mission. And he's going, all right, I'm going to swoop in. I'm going to get her because, probably from his point of view, she's over the hill and be happy with any offer she gets.
Well, yeah, but I think before he even knows who she is, he is still attracted to her in a way.
Yeah, I don't think it's pure evil. I think it's more of a,
'cause she
oh,
could-
you?
he
Oh,
could
you
have
got
married-
this house?
yeah, 'cause-
All right.
He could have married the other one, the bitchy one.
Oh, yeah, true.
She's still up for grabs.
Well, yeah, but she's not the oldest, though.
I don't think it matters.
Well, if Anne marries Wentworth, which she does, wouldn't he still inherit all that stuff because she's the older daughter?
I don't think so.
That's the husband of the older daughter.
Yeah, I don't know if that's how it works, though.
Well, anyway.
Anybody who knows how it works,
So yes, love complications.
let us know.
Both sides, so we could see how their lives would turn out if they didn't get together, which of course they will, because it's a romance.
Why are you such a spoiler?
Okay, so pick it up at the party scene. Because I want to say that Ferret Face was being sort of nice at the party scene. I was thinking that, and this is less about the writing and the characters and more about how this particular production of it, the 1995 version, always has a special place in my heart because they really did a good job of, she's talking to one of the dudes, just like as a friend, just talking. And then she sees the guy she likes and she's like, oh, I'm so excited to see you. And it's like clear on her face that she would rather be talking to him.
Yes.
And then she's like, oh, we got torn apart and, oh, this guy has to take me in, social convention or whatever. And she's like perfectly willing to like go along with that. And he's all broody Captain Breeches at the back of the room, just like staring them down. She's like, okay, well, I'm telling you this thing. And it looks like, Ferret Face is pitching his woo pretty hard. But I don't see anything in that makes him think that they're super cozy, aside from, like, rumor.
I'm so confused. You said the party scene.
The concert.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Because they have a party in, like, 2 seconds here.
No,
so
not that
that's why-
party. The concert.
Oh.
Where
well,
he's
you
all...
didn't say that.
Well, I meant it.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
then.
so he's all, like, in his dress uniform, looking tight at the back of the room,
broody.
in a broody way, but she's like, oh, you can tell that she would rather be talking to him than Ferret Face, and she's just like, oh, I came with Ferret Face, I have to go sit next to him and explain Italian, and he's just standing at the back of the room all brood, 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 and it's like, yeah, okay, well, you came late, and,
Yeah.
And he decides to get all pissy. And I know that it's like, oh, it's just a misunderstanding. But it's like, seriously, this misunderstanding that's like, you've waited 8 years and you're going to wait till this incredibly public function to be like, oh, I'm going to throw a hissy fit and leave because I was going to ask you out, but I guess I won't.
Well, right before that, though, it was her family not exactly giving him the warmest of welcomes. And I don't know, was Lady Russell there too?
Oh, she's everywhere, so probably.
Probably. As like, so.
But it was only Ferret Face that got his back up.
Well, no, but it's because of the fact that obviously her family didn't mind Ferret Face. And they were all, okay, well, it's okay for him to be sitting next to her and,
Oh, that puts a layer
blah,
on
blah,
it because
blah.
he was like, oh, I think I'm in here because,
yes.
Your family has finally sort of kind of accepted me and the girl that was following me around is now getting married to somebody else.
Yes.
So I'm going to come back
things
and be
were
like,
falling into
hey,
place.
so what do you think about this? And they're like,
Yes.
oh, no,
And then
she's
all of
totally
a
going to marry
sudden-
her first cousin and have really
Yes.
weird babies.
Yes.
And and then the very next day where they're at the art gallery, he's like, oh, yeah, my brother-in-law told me, why don't you go down there and see if she wants the house back when she's totally getting married? She didn't tell you.
Yeah. It's all miscommunication, but I still think there's a little bit of Fiona Shaw trickery.
I would like to think that it was Fiona Shaw. We didn't record that part.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
like, you thought that it was the colonel,
admiral.
admiral.
That the admirals specifically sent Frederick there to tell her this in order to create a...
And I said, no,
Blah.
that gives him too much credit because the colonel is like an old colonel and he's a Navy man.
Yes,
And
then
he's
we
just
brought
like...
up the fact that when he was telling him about...
And he's staying in Kellynch Hall, which is
Henrietta.
her family home. And he's like,
Yes.
oh, guess we're not going to be here because if they get married, they're probably going to want to move back here. I'll write her a note. And
Yes.
Fiona Shaw, with her little tinted fingers, is like, actually,
Frederick
maybe, Frederick's going there. I
No.
feel like he's going there. Maybe we should just,
I think they
we just
had
have him
a-
swing by. I don't know how she got it if he was already on the way. Like, she just picked up her iPhone. Like, I don't know how she did it, but she was just like,
he maybe went over there and, dinner.
we said you're the reason I came to Bath.
Huh? She's the
Wasn't
reason
he already in
came.
Bath? Right.
Yeah, he's in Bath. His sister and brother-in-law are in Bath. He's probably staying
Oh, he still sent a note.
with them. So
No, he was still in Bath, so he sent a note to Frederick instead to be like, deliver this in person.
they're all in Bath.
He's staying at Kellynch Hall, which is not in Bath.
But he's there taking the waters because of his legs.
Oh, right, yeah. Sorry.
Don't yell at me.
Anyway, then why didn't they just tell him himself?
That's my point. Is the fact that he specifically sent Frederick there in order to create a tension.
This is an intrigue that is interesting now because she does say the footman dude was like, oh, there's somebody here in uniform asking about Kellynch Hall. And she goes, oh, it must be the Admiral. Why wasn't it the Admiral?
Because he wanted to send Frederick.
Because it was shit stirring, you think?
I think so.
Like he was dining with them. And then they were just talking the gossip.
And
they
they were
were
talking
like,
the gossip.
she's totally going to be married to them. So why don't you just run
Why don't
along
you
and
go
tell
there?
her
Yeah.
that maybe, next time she's, when they get married, she'd want to come back to her family home. Yeah, you go do it. I think Fiona Shaw over the dinner table was like sly and was like, oh, Frederick should do it. Your poor leg.
Well,
You
yeah.
should just sit there.
Is it because normally it's not like they have an issue of talking to her anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he gave her the information about Henrietta and Mr. whatever, Captain.
Hater?
No, the
No.
other one, Captain
Bartleby. No. Captain Bennick.
Bennick. Yeah, as like so he's fine with giving gossip and whatever. So yeah, the Admiral could have just straight out told.
Okay.
And I think this was all a clever nudge.
It was a nudge.
Yes.
Thing is, though, if that was a nudge, now if he's so pissed after the concert, and he got nudged into doing this thing where she did not deny that maybe she might marry Ferret Face.
Well, she did. She tried.
She tried.
There
She was
hesitation
going
there.
against. She didn't say absolutely no, I'm not, because the scene next was where she had to go find out that Ferret Face was doing some double
Yes.
dealing. So she didn't yet know that Ferret Face was after her. He might like her, but he was really actually after the title.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she didn't find out that Ferret Face had ulterior motives. So it was, okay, if you're Captain Wentworth and you're like, okay, she's kind of snubbing me, or she's totally into this other dude at a romantic concert in Italian, fine, fuck it. Like, I just kind of was going to tell her how much I love her, but clearly she's not into me, bye. Then the next thing, you get dispatched by your sister to go tell her that the house that she's going to be renting has to be empty because this lady that you're in love with is going to marry this other dude. And she did not tell you to your face that it wasn't going to happen. So if you're a hothead, which he is, he's assuming it's going to happen. And you see Lady Russell, who you hate, and then you go home. The next time you see Anne, he was surprisingly friendly.
Okay, because I disagree with what you just said. As Captain Wentworth. Ciarán Hinds.
Okay, you are Ciarán Hinds.
I am Ciarán Hinds.
Lay it on me.
I'm channeling him.
Okay.
Give him the face.
You're a tall tree with sideburns.
Yes, I am.
All right.
At the concert, I don't think it was okay, she's snubbing me, blah, blah, blah. It's like, and now I'm going to be all mad about it and whatever. I think it was that he was man hurt, whatever.
Man hurt.
About the fact that everyone was so inclusive to Mr. Elliot. So even if, it's because she has been persuaded before, that if everybody around her is okay with Mr. Elliot, that they would persuade her into marrying him.
Ah.
Not the fact that he thinks that, oh, well, she's not really into me.
But he wasn't mad at
forgot.
her. He
No.
was mad at her family.
Yes, he was mad
and
at
at
the
Ferret
fact that
Face.
how he assumed
How
it
he was
going
treated.
to go.
Right. Okay.
It's like, so then when they met in the room or whatever, and he was writing the letter, by overhearing what she said about the fact that, oh, well, she loves longest. Obviously, she wasn't talking about Elliot because they had just met. It's like he realized that she was talking about him.
But he was nice right when he said hi. Right when he showed up at first, when they found out she had to go to a party so they couldn't go to the theater. And she was like, no, people think that the theater is beneath their dignity, so they hold parties.
Yes, because the fact that he was upset over the whole concert thing because he thought that she was following along with her family's ideas. As like, and by her saying that, no, because I don't care if it's beneath my dignity or my family's dignity. So that created a rift in the fact that, okay, well, maybe she's not so much influenced by her family right now.
But if I heard that and I was Captain Wentworth, I'd be like, oh, so you're not going to go to the theater because you have a prior family obligation, and that's the most important thing.
No, because obviously she was not happy about it because she said... Oh,
but she didn't say she wasn't going to go. She just wasn't happy that she had to go.
No, but she said that if it was her choice, she would. So it's not as much of an influence as an obligation.
Well, so would be marrying Ferret Face
No,
if she
that
was
wouldn't
still
be-
persuadable.
That wouldn't be an obligation, though.
Well, in past, it would have been. Because she could be persuaded to marry Ferret Face or not marry somebody, or marry somebody because of the family connection or the suitability of the person. And this is she's saying, oh no, I have to go to this party. I don't want to, but I have to go to this party. I'd rather go to the theater. And it's like, well, at that point, if she'd have said, you know what, fuck it. I am going to go to the theater. I don't care what my family thinks because these people are just throwing parties because they think the theaters are beneath them. Then he could have been like, oh, maybe she won't do everything her family tells her to.
No, because she still showed defiance in the fact of, oh well, I'm not going to go because I have to go to this thing because it's so super important. It's not that way. She was just like, well, I'd love to go, but I have to do this thing.
And he made a pretty big leap there then. This was coming a pretty good way. I feel like as far as
but that's why
like...
he asked her something. What did he ask her?
He said, did you not want to go to the theater or something? I forget what his words were, but she was like, no. Oh yeah, it's something about the parties in Bath. And he's like, oh, are you not used to going to all these parties in Bath? And she's like...
he said, oh, okay, that's what he was.
Yeah.
He was like, you haven't been in Bath long enough to enjoy these parties.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And it's like, and that's again to show the fact that have they influenced her enough to be
Right.
now a Bath,
Yeah. It's
upper
like, oh,
class,
you're high
whatever.
society here? And she goes, no,
Yes.
actually,
And
I
she
know
says
what
no.
they're about, and I know why they do it,
Yes.
and I would much rather go to the theater.
So, and it's like, you also have to keep in mind that okay, even if he is brooding and upset, he still has hope.
He's so much more of, like, a hero
Yeah.
than, like, a romantic hero. Like,
Yeah.
because, like, Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice was still very, what, you said one wrong word in that sentence, that it was all, I love you, I love you, I love you, but you said maybe my hair was not perfectly curly, bye.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like he had to have absolutely every word flatter him. And Mr. Rochester, kind of the same thing.
Because they inherited their wealth.
Right. And he was just very like, oh, I was gonna think this of you, but I guess I won't now.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, well, I thought you were gonna marry him. Oh, all right. You
also
really
because-
aren't full of intrigue, are you? Like, what I see is what I get.
No, that's because he knew her before he was rich. He knew her after he had already become rich. So he knows the entire that she's the same no matter what. When it comes to the other ones, they're already rich and they're like, oh, well, I'm rich. Obviously, you're going to say yes.
That's why I like that's a good bit of writing when she says, I am no card player. And he goes,
Yes.
no, you never were you?
Yes.
Because it's like,
he knows.
yeah, what you see is what you get with me. And he's like, yeah, what you see is what you get with me, too.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I never thought that you were playing games, like, just for the drama. I thought maybe you had a reason for doing all the crap that you were doing, and so do I, and now we know that.
It's like, so actually we were playing, a game, but at that point, if you keep going like this, we both lose.
The thing is, most of the time when normal people, like the heroes and the heroines that are cast as, like, the normal, sane people who are not social climbers and just want to hang out with good people and the people that they love, is the people around them are always playing games. And to some extent, they have to play too.
Yeah.
Because they can't just be like, no, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever they want. Because they still want to be received in polite society. Even the poors in Jane Austen.
What now?
The poors, they still have, like, 50 pounds a year at least. Which is like, oh, I only have 5 million. I had to get the small jet. It's like, yeah, it's like, but they are by no means poor. Even the ones that marry, like, clergymen still have, like, a good living per year.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, no, we can't completely be crazy, naked artists and bohemian lifestyle, because we still do want to be received at these parties. We still do enjoy it, but we're not going to be them. So they do kind of have to play.
What are you trying to say now?
I'm saying that they do have to kind of play the games, but they themselves are like, we know, you and I know, that we are not playing games with each other. Everybody around us is trying to orchestrate shit, and they're trying to do their own machinations to get closer to shit. But you know that you and I are on the same team.
And it's like, and now Captain Wentworth realizes specifically that. That's why he writes the letter.
Forgive me, Mrs. Musgrave. I left my umbrella.
I think Mrs. Musgrave is Daisy, whatever.
Yes.
From
She is. From Keeping Up Appearances.
yeah. Daisy Bucket.
It's okay.
I can listen no longer in silence. I must speak to you by such means as are within my reach. You pierce my soul. I am half agony, half hope. Tell me not that I am too late. That such precious feelings are gone forever. I offer myself to you again with a heart even more your own than when you almost broke it 8 years and a half ago.
Dare not say that man forgets sooner than woman, that his love has an earlier death. I have loved none but you. Unjust I may have been, weak and
resentful I have been, but never inconstant. You alone have brought me to Bath. For you alone, I think and plan. Have you not seen this? Can you fail to have understood my wishes? I had not waited at least 10 days when I have had your feelings.
I must go. I'm certain of my fate.
I shall return or follow your party as soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
A word.
A word, a look will be enough to decide whether I enter your father's house this evening or never.
Now, wouldn't you be scared shitless on what look that was?
Now, yes, in addition to the fact that I want to inject that letter into my arm like laudanum, how about actually I have it distilled. Instead of heroin, I have it distilled in a tiny bottle that I will stop her with a tiny cork, and when I am feeling very sad, I will open it.
I had it as a phone case.
I know. Oh, just a little bit of a little pipette, and just drop her a little bit of that letter,
Half agony, half hope.
just right into my eyeball, and then I will just see poppies for like an hour, because
Yeah, I'm
it's.
still mad the fact that they did the voiceover of her, because you can't hear.
I don't
Hinds'
mind.
beautiful
Maybe he
voice.
sneezed and they needed to cover it, and they were like,
Beautiful
"No, I
voice.
want to be the one who reads it. No, I want to be the we'll superimpose it so you can both read it."
Yeah, no, well, screw that, because that's like a Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, Towering Inferno bullshit.
Well, I mean, I don't care.
We want to both be on there. How about we just put you on to the left and you on the right, but you'll be higher.
I don't think it was egos. I think it
I
was.
think it was straight up.
I think
ego.
it was a directorial choice.
Wait, which one are we talking about?
Oh, not Towering Inferno.
that was ego.
I think this.
Okay.
Because I think I don't know the text. I don't have a copy of this one. But yeah, I think it just says the text. There's no like reading it out loud, but this is the point I wanted to make about the letter, because he says,
Why are you laughing? It's a beautiful letter.
because it's the end makes me laugh, because it's like one word and one look from you, and I'll know if you love me or not. And I was trying to figure out what that look would look like.
I know. I'm saying is that if I was her, I would be so freaking scared to go into that room.
I know. It's like, what do you?
I'd wear a mask.
Like,
That's
what do
it.
you look? I want.
My visage would be
look,
on.
I want you to take a picture of me doing the look that I think I would do, and then I'm going to take a picture of you doing the look that I think you would do.
Because you would have frozen
I
Megan
wouldn't have-
to death when she had no heat in the house.
Yeah, look of love.
Die.
I'm trying to give a look of love. I was having a look of. She saw that from across the room.
I was like,
All right.
It's like, maybe she's
All right,
constipated.
so look, okay, I got a Life is Good shirt. So
Okay,
if that
life
doesn't
is
fit,
life is
come and
good.
get
That's
it.
yes.
All right, hang on.
Okay.
Fire away, look of love.
Yes, you walk in with your
He's gonna have to walk in from that direction.
Okay,
I'll be like,
this is-
oh, I'm nervous.
nervous. You
Nervous,
walk in,
nervous. He walks
and Ciarán Hinds.
Is he coming in?
Was your intention to hit him in the chest with your eyeballs?
I tried to look harder. I was under pressure. Oh my god.
You look like a pug dog.
I don't know if it's gonna be better. Oh, I'm sorry. Ooh. Okay.
Magnus is not impressed.
Better with words. So
Better with words. You should have just sent a note.
I should have sent my brother a message for me. No, I'm saying she said a look or a word. And I was like, maybe I'd pick a word like password. If I did one word, maybe I could pick the right.
Kumquat.
I don't know.
Interpret that.
Maybe we just go with yes. Maybe I took my glasses off to get this stare.
Are you recording this?
I'm not.
I'm recording
I
this.
thought you were. I was like, we don't need double of this.
I'm just gonna be like,
And also, it might look like you're having a stroke, but if she were like,
yeah.
then maybe it would get.
Or maybe just the eyebrow.
Or, you know what? For all that she's like,
I know, right?
All the time.
Anything would be.
when she sees him, to be fair, she's a good enough actor that she's like there's a little bit of a
You gotta have a crinkle in your eye.
there's a little crinkle.
Yes,
There's
that's
like-
when you smile. When you're happy, there's a crinkle in your eye.
She doesn't quite smile huge.
No.
When he joked, she did, but it was just more of like a,
No,
you know.
that's nice.
I still have a Muppet smile, but she should just be like,
Then I look like Graham. You, me, come on, let's go.
yeah, that's what I would do
Yeah.
if I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
One look, one word.
Okay.
You're getting ready.
So I'm getting ready.
You're
Okay.
getting ready,
And
and it's you're so ready, and you're fitting
is
yourself,
it?
and you're like,
And there's
you're surrounded by idiots,
Okay.
and it's like,
idiots. And I see him across the room.
and in the front door. I mean, it was better than what I mean, I can't. So if someone told you, look, if you love me and you've loved me all your life, you just need to give me one look. Actually, part of that letter, you don't need to do it yet. Part of that letter was like, oh, you can't have mistook this because the actual text says something like, I've heard it in your voice and other people wouldn't know, but I know you so well that I hear it. And I think I hear that you actually do feel the same way. So he's sort of intimating that one look and one word from you, I will be able to interpret it because we're us and we know how we do stuff. Like when you know somebody for a long time, like when they move their eyebrow, you're like, oh, he hated that shit, because you can tell.
Okay.
Like when Bacon's being fake with other people, I'm like, oh, he hates them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think he's like, well, if somebody knew me well enough and I did a face that I was like, yes, I'm totally into you, the person who knew me well enough would know.
Yeah, but I'd still be fucking scared.
I would still be scared.
And I was like, you're already going in there nervous. As, what if I make the wrong face?
Also, keep in mind that you will probably be talking to them. It's not like they're going to see you across a pier.
I don't care what the look was. Here, I'm
and have binoculars and be like, you have one shot. She'd be like, yes, get in there. Yeah.
This would be the, if I just show you my boob.
She'd be like, the two thumbs at the face of this guy.
Yes. I was like, yes.
But yeah, I think it's a less of a decorum, and like if you look at me or give me one word, I'll be able to know because I know you really well. That's
sure
what it
I'd
is.
give myself whiplash.
Okay, yeah. So my look aside, I think that was pretty successful.
I think that was amazing.
It was pretty terrible. All right, so I would have sent them packing, but this has been the first episode of Bonnet Porn, Persuasion 1995. We have yet to do Persuasion 2000 and I think 7. I think it was 2007 with Dishy MI5 Ginger.
Yes, and the chick from Godzilla.
I do not know who she is.
She was nominated for the award for the Fish movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she does look like the girl from the Fish movie. So that makes sense.
I used to know her name.
Anyway, it'll either be on YouTube or my Patreon page or Podbean as soon as I can get all of those things up and running. So, yeah, thank you, Megan, for taking this time with me.
You are very
It's the
welcome.
longest we've ever watched a single Bonnet movie.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Next episode will be better.
It'll be better. It'll be shorter.
It'll be shorter.
And it won't have so much of my face.
and we'll be drinking wine.
Yeah, we will. We shall do. All right. See you later. I don't have a sign off. So, peace out.
Peace out.